where did civilization originate? Europe, maybe?
Wasn't Christopher Columbus the beginning of mankind?
I think the evidence of the first humans were found in Jurassic Park.
The mitochondrial Eve, which was discovered in Africa, is believed to be the ancestor which all mothers descend. According to this theory, this causes all humans to trace their origins back to Africa. The mitochondrial Eve is estimated to have lived around 150,000 years ago, most likely in East Africa. This is when Homo sapiens sapiens were developing as a population, distinct from their human subspecies.
Sometime between 120,000 and 90,000 years ago, the final evolution into fully modern human beings occurred in the savanna woodlands of eastern and southern Africa. Ancient Egypt was the first civilization, lasting from 300 BCE to 1000 BCE. The unification of the Upper and Lower Nile in 3500 BCE is said to be the first known culture to fit the classification of civilization. African cultures, most notably ancient Egypt, were the first to develop systems of government and hierarchical societies, thus contributing to their qualifications of civilization along with the progression and success of their societies. Africans were the original pioneers in the development of human thought, philosophy, religion, and technology.
Africa is the only continent in which evidence has been found for man's early evolution. The material evidence for human evolution depends highly upon the recovery and examination of ancient bones, fossils, stone tools, and other artifacts. There are signs in Africa of some of the first forms of ritual and early religions, with the beginnings of the deliberate burial of the dead. Lucy is the first species of ancient human to have been found, and she was discovered in 1974 at Hadar in Ethiopia. She is thought to have lived around 3.2 million years ago. Lucy was an adult female of about 25 years and was assigned to the species Australopithecus afarensis. About 40% of her skeleton was found, and her pelvis, femur, and tibia show her to have been bipedal.
I think ancient Africans got their food from other countries who shipped it into them because they didn't know how to get it themselves.
I don't really think the ancient Africans were educated enough to create technologies to get their food and create food or whatever. So I don't really think they used any sort of technology like that.
In ancient times, many African groups often migrated towards large sources of water. The closer they were to a source of water, the more likely they were to achieve advancements in agriculture and irrigation. It was through these advancements that civilizations were birthed. The best example of this occurrence would be the relationship between the Nile River and ancient Egyptians. It has been said by many historians that the Nile River is considered to be the life source of ancient Egypt. Nile waters deposited natural fertilizer along the banks of Egypt, which made it easy to plant and cultivate crops. During this time, civilization efforts had to be organized, requiring cooperation and leadership. It is because of the Nile River that the Egyptians were agriculturally prosperous.
The Pastoral Revolution was marked by the breeding of wild animals into livestock. These efforts complemented the advantages of crop cultivation of the Agricultural Revolution. The Agricultural Revolution made the evolution of settled communities possible, and it first appeared along the banks of the Nile in its delta by 4000 BC. The domestication of animals made a principal source of milk and meat. They were used as a tool to increase crop yield, fertilizer, a more efficient means of transportation, and fuel for fire, wool, and leather. Not only did African farmers incorporate the domestication of animals as a way of living, but also as a form of prosperity. Cattle were used as a social marker of prestige, an instrument of political authority, and as an item of trade for others' goods. As a result, herdsmen who were wealthy in cattle were reserved members of the elite. It can be argued that the use of cattle as a means of authority was a social process that led to the formation of state.
Beginning in 500 BCE, the Iron Revolution of Africa greatly influenced the way African states developed and grew. Evidence of iron working throughout Africa can be found in the remnants of iron slag, which is produced during the smelting process of iron. The iron is melted down and reshaped into useful forms such as blades for working the land and swords and spears used in war. Iron gave the people of Africa the ability to work many types of landscapes and clear ground to plant new crops and expand. Iron played a major role in war making when groups would conquer weaker groups and expand their empire through the strength of their military. This contributed to the move toward hierarchical societies from egalitarian groups.
I stopped an old man.
The world we know today has its origins deeply rooted in the history of Africa, from the formation of civilization in ancient Egypt to the gold trade in the empire of ancient Ghana, from the agricultural revolution in the Delta in 4000 BC to the Iron Revolution in 500 BC, and up to the growth of the transoceanic trade of the Swahili city-states. We can easily see how much the history of Africa has influenced the modern world. Looking back on the growth of the world, it is evident how much can be attributed to the ideas and developments that come from Africa. Because we have modeled our lives so much based on what we know, we can truly say that we all originated in Africa.